I was sitting at the edge of my dock, the sun shimmering across the lake I'd worked my whole life to own, when I heard the sound of footsteps crunching gravel behind me. I turned to see a woman strutting toward me with a clipboard tucked under her arm and a smug grin plastered across her face. Without even saying hello, she extended a folded sheet of paper and announced, "You've been fined $1,000. Swimming in the lake is a violation of HOA rules." At first, I thought she was joking. My lake, my property, my deed. I let out a short laugh, waiting for her to break character, but she didn't even flinch. Her smile stretched wider, like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. "You're serious?" I asked, standing now, my hands trembling, not with fear, but with confusion and anger. "Deadly serious," she replied, her tone dripping with condescension. "This is a shared community, and you are setting a bad example for the others. If you want to enjoy water recreation, you'll need to use the community pool like everyone else." The audacity hit me like a slap across the face. I stared out at the sparkling water, my own private sanctuary, carved out of the land I had poured my savings into. "This lake is mine," I said firmly. "It's on my deed. It's private property." She chuckled in that way only the most arrogant people can, half laugh, half scoff. "You can argue all you want, but the rules are the rules. Break them again, and the fines will double." She turned on her heel, her clipboard clutched like a weapon, and strutted off as if she had won some grand battle. Her name was Karen, of course. HOA president. Self-appointed queen of the neighborhood. She was the type who looked for power anywhere she could, and when she found it, she squeezed until people broke. Her yard was the only one with gold-plated garden gnomes and a perfectly manicured lawn that screamed superiority. She loved holding court at HOA meetings, belittling neighbors, barking about rules she made up on the spot, and smiling as she slapped fines on anyone who dared cross her. I tried to approach her logically the next day, thinking maybe she had made a mistake. I showed her the property lines on my deed. I explained calmly that the lake was entirely within my parcel of land, meaning the HOA had no authority. She didn't even look at the paperwork. Instead, she leaned back in her chair, tapping a long red nail against the armrest, and said, "You can wave papers around all day, but the HOA rules cover everything in this community. You're either with us, or you're against us. And trust me, you don't want to be against us." Her little minions, the board members she'd bullied into submission, snickered from their seats beside her. I felt the heat of humiliation burn my face. She wasn't just dismissing me. She was mocking me in front of others, turning my rightful ownership into a joke. That was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, the letters came. First, a warning for excessive noise after I had a barbecue with 2 friends. Then another fine for improper storage of watercraft because my kayak rested on my own dock. Karen even tried to shame me publicly during an HOA meeting, holding up photos of me by the lake like I was some criminal. "We cannot allow lawlessness in our community," she declared to a chorus of nods from those too afraid to challenge her. The injustice cut deep. Each time I opened my mailbox, I braced for another attack. Each time I saw her smug face at the end of the street, a pit of anger twisted in my stomach. She wasn't just enforcing rules. She was enjoying every second of crushing me under her heel. But as I stood at my window one night, watching the lake reflect the silver glow of the moon, I felt the anger shift. It cooled. It sharpened. If she wanted a war, then a war she would get. And I wouldn't just fight her. I would destroy her with the very system she thought made her untouchable. I started digging. Not dirt, but documents. HOA bylaws, state statutes, archived meeting notes, all of it. I poured through every dusty paragraph, looking for leverage. And that's when I found it, a rule hidden deep in the bylaws that allowed homeowners to propose amendments to the HOA fee structure, provided they gained majority support. Karen's greatest weakness was right there on paper. She had been pushing for higher community fees for years, disguising her greed as community improvement. She bragged constantly about how much money she controlled and how responsible the HOA was under her leadership. If I could use that greed against her, she'd hang herself with her own rope. I started meeting with neighbors, quietly, carefully. Some were hesitant at first, too scared of retaliation. But once I explained my plan, once they realized they weren't alone in their resentment, they leaned in. Together, we laughed in hushed whispers at how sweet the payback would be. Karen strutted around the neighborhood completely oblivious, still puffing herself up with power, while the trap tightened around her ankles. The night of the HOA meeting arrived. The room was packed, buzzing with tension. Karen sat at the front like a queen on her throne, gavel in hand, smug smile plastered across her face. She spotted me and sneered, already tasting another public humiliation. Our lake swimmer, she said loudly, earning a ripple of laughter from her loyalists. Do you have something to confess to the community tonight? I smiled back, calm, collected. Actually, yes, I said, standing. I'd like to propose a new amendment to our fee structure. Karen perked up, intrigued. She loved money more than anything. Oh, she purred. Go on. I laid it out simply. Given the rising costs of community upkeep, I believe we should raise HOA fees by $5,000. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and Karen clapped her hands together, her face glowing with greed. Finally, someone who understands. I second the proposal. The room went quiet. I let the silence stretch until every eye was on me. Then I delivered the kill shot. The fee increase will apply exclusively to HOA board members. After all, they should lead by example. The reaction was electric. Gasps turned into laughter, whispers into cheers. Karen's smile froze, then cracked. Her face flushed a furious red. You can't do this, she sputtered, slamming her gavel down. This is outrageous. But I held up the bylaws, the very rules she had always used as her shield. According to Section 14, Paragraph C, any proposed amendment with majority support is binding. I looked around the room. All in favor? Hands shot up everywhere. Nearly the entire room. Neighbors who had once bowed their heads now stood tall, grinning as they raised their arms. Karen's board members looked at each other in panic, realizing they'd been outmaneuvered. Karen's voice cracked as she tried to regain control. This is a witch hunt. This is illegal. But the vote was done. The proposal passed. Her own greed had sealed her fate. The room erupted. Some people clapped, others laughed openly. Karen, the queen who had ruled with smug arrogance, was left speechless, red-faced, and powerless. She tried to storm out, but the laughter followed her down the hall like a chorus of victory. From that night forward, things changed. Karen quit the HOA within weeks, unable to face the humiliation of paying thousands she didn't have. The new board, free from her grip, reversed the ridiculous fines and started treating homeowners with respect. And me? I went back to swimming in my lake, free and unbothered, the way it was always meant to be. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge isn't shouting or fighting. It's making your enemy pay their own price, literally.